Earlier this week, I had the opportunity to spend about 5 hours in a hospital waiting room alone. I was taking a parishioner down to the hospital who was going to have what was told a very brief outpatient procedure done. I thought I would wait rather than try to go out shopping or get something to eat. While my mother was a nurse, and I had probably spent almost 50 years in and out of hospitals visiting family and parishioners. It was the first time I spent that length of time in a lobby alone. It was fascinating. A little frustrating, but fascinating simply to watch what was going on. I thought I would share some of those insights. Because I think in some ways we've shifted. There is a new religion. It's called the medical field. After I dropped off my parishioner, I went and parked, and by the time I got to the door, he was already swept inside somewhere. The woman at the desk stopped me and asked what it was that I was seeking. I thought that was interesting language. I told her what I was there for. She wanted to know what kind of surgery. I said, well, I wasn't quite sure. She said, oh. Well, you'll have to wait over there. You need one of these special masks. I was wearing a mask at the time. She said, no, you have to put one of ours on. Please sanitize your hands. And here is a badge that identifies you as a visitor. This is the pew that you can sit in over there. I was just thankful she let me in the door. I sat down and began to read. I happened to be in the area where the coffee shop was. Well, actually, it was a coffee window, more or less. I watched the doctors and the nurses and the staff people and occasionally a visitor go up for the ritual meal of sweet rolls and coffee. It was fascinating watching some of the regular staff people because the barista knew when they came to the window what it was that they were going to order before they even made the order. It was that much of a ritual. There were the high priests wearing their ceremonial lab coats, the doctors. There were the deacons, the nurses, running around in various colors and styles of scrubs. There was the altar guild, the staff that kept things running smoothly, making sure everybody had the right equipment to do the job. I sat there and watched all of this go on. Oh, I forgot. There were the parishioners, in and out. Most of them very compliant, following orders, sitting where they were supposed to sitting. But, like church, there were those that weren't terribly happy. Things were going too long. They didn't like their seats. They didn't like the style of things going on. And they were quite vocal in their disapproval. Eventually, after about 4 hours, I got kind of concerned about my parishioner. I mean, it was, after all, supposed to be a fairly short surgical procedure. And so I finally sought out some help. They got out the rolls and began to sift through and found my parishioner and made a few phone calls to find out where exactly he was, and then directed me upstairs to another waiting room. I'd no sooner sat down than one of the deacons came around updating parishioner, updating the visitors about the parishioners' situations. She was very friendly to everybody until she got to me, and then she said, "Who are you here for?" I was wearing my collar. And I gave the name. And she looked at me, "Oh, you're Pastor Jake." I said, "Yes, that's who I am." "Well, your cell phone isn't set up to receive voicemail. You need to fix that." I said, "But it is set up to receive voicemail." "No, it's not." I guess I knew where my authority lay. She said, "Well, he's ready to go. You can go back to his room." And she directed me back. I waited for him to get dressed, and we went to the desk for him to sign the appropriate release papers. And then he got his penance, his instructions on how to behave and what to do when we left. It was fascinating. One of the great insights, however, was that growing up with a nurse, she had a very particular slant on the way things happened at the hospital. She used to refer, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, I think a little more tongue than cheek, that the doctors were the gods in the system. And what I discovered in my brief time there was that that's no longer true. The doctors are not the gods in the system. The insurance company is. That's where the ultimate decisions get made as to who gets what care, how long they stay, what tests get done. The doctors are helpless at times. I heard many frustrating conversations between doctors about why they couldn't get this person a test, or why they had to release them. It's quite interesting. There's been a shift even in the medical field. It was fascinating to begin to recognize the power spiritually that the medical field has attained these days. It has become, in many ways, a new religion. And perhaps that's why hospitals are full these days and churches are not. Maybe it is the new American religion. Just something to ponder. I'd appreciate your insights. Have a good day and try to stay out of the hospital if at all possible.